about 6 ways to generate seller leads. My guest today is Mr. Jerimiah Taylor. Jerimiah, how you doing?
Doing awesome, Bob. Thanks for having me on this morning.
Yeah, so Jeremiah's this guy, he's got a lot going on in his real estate business. Jerimiah, give everybody on the call here a little bit of background on yourself. Talk a little bit about the team you have and then the business that you run.
So, you know, it's interesting. As a real estate agent, we all wear a lot of hats, and I think that for some reason I've taken to wearing more hats than the average agent. And so I started my business in Tucson, Arizona, just about 10 years ago, and we've built a great business there. My team and I will sell right around 150 to 160 homes this year. We're actually ahead of our goals, which is a unique thing. That doesn't happen often because we typically set big ones. Now, the interesting thing is I live most of the time in San Diego, California, and so I run my team as what we call a 7th level team, which means I don't go on appointments, I don't list houses. I've done that. I've listed lots of houses, and I've now built a business that runs itself. And so when I live in San Diego, I actually manage the #1 real estate office in the county, Keller Williams in Del Mar, where our agents here will be responsible for just under $1 billion worth of real estate sales this year. So I've got some interesting perspective, because even though I won't go on a listing appointment this year, I'll take about 100 listings in my name in Arizona. And as we expand those numbers, what's neat is the rainmaker, I get to see, you know, my job is to provide the leads. How do I get the leads to the table so that my inside salespeople and my listing coordinator and everybody can follow up with them? And so for them, it's just a lead conversion game. And the unique thing is that because my time's limited, I have to have the best strategies that generate the most leads with the least amount of time, so that we can rock and roll and hit our goals.
Awesome. Okay, so this guy's, so as you can tell, he doesn't have a lot of time in his day to be out generating leads, but he realizes that for his team in Tucson to run, that's his job, right, to bring these leads to the table. So today we're going to talk a little bit with him. Jerimiah, I've had him on before. It's been a while now. It's maybe 18 months ago we had him on talking about seller leads. I've had him on a couple of panels that literally like shut the room down. The fire marshal comes in. He says, nobody else can come in this room. We've had some really good panel discussions at some of the different conventions about generating seller leads. So we're going to share a little bit with you guys here today. And we're going to start off with agent-to-agent referrals. And you guys are here on ActiveRain. If you're really involved in ActiveRain, or you're here from ActiveRain, if you're really involved there, you probably get some referrals from time to time. But there are a lot of ways out there to go about getting referrals from your peers, right? Jerimiah, let's dive in here. Talk to me a little bit about agent-to-agent referrals, and what should people be thinking about so that their peers are thinking of them when they get ready to refer somebody to, in your case, Tucson.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think that this is a missing link for a lot of agents. You know, there's nearly 1 million real estate agents that are realtor members in the United States. Above and beyond that, there's 500,000 realtors worldwide. And so why aren't we marketing to that database the same way that we market to our internal database of, you know, past clients, friends, family, and all that? And so this was a big mindset shift for me on my team really a couple of years back. And we started proactively farming real estate agents. So what that looks like is that any opportunity that I can get around other agents, I'm in. So like NAR convention. You guys do a great, the Inman Connect, where you guys are such a big part of it. That's a fabulous piece. On ActiveRain, I'm in there, I'm collaborating with other agents from other markets. On Trulia, we're, you know, in the Voices community, we're collaborating with other agents in other markets. And then, you know, what I look at is how can I provide value, right? Because if I just send you another spammy piece like the rest of the agents do, you're not going to get anything out of it. And so for me, doing these calls for Bob and then sending out my monthly real estate video training blog, those are the things that I do to add value to other agents around the country, so that when they think of somebody that's moving to Tucson or San Diego, they go, oh, hey, that's Jeremiah guy that's always sending me good info on my business is there. He'll take great care of these guys, and then we get them done. And Bob, the results are the best part, because last year I believe that we closed 26 transactions from agent-to-agent referrals.
So these are people that just got to know Jerimiah because he's out there sharing good stuff. Let's say, how much time do you spend thinking about or actively approaching agents that are in areas that send people to live in San Diego and Tucson? Because I always think about, if I was in Tucson, right, Washington State just has a steady funnel of retirees moving down to your area. So do you think about that? Like, where are people moving to my area from, and then kind of start to plan around that in terms of what agents you want to reach out to, or are you just literally you're covering everybody?
Yeah, so see, this is just a testimonial that you can never get enough training, because you just spurred an aha moment for me. And no, we've never thought of, I can tell you who my feeder states are because we've done the research, but we've never looked at how do we proactively market to them. I've taken a more broad approach. You know, Keller Williams is the largest real estate company in the country. We've got this great culture of referrals, and the neat part is, unlike Coldwell Banker or some of the other, and I don't want to, not to bash anybody or anything, but some of these other companies, they take like a 40 or 50% referral fee out of the middle if you refer to another agent, and that can be a challenge, because we have a Cardis account, but I really don't like working for 20% of the commission. So at KDAB, we just refer agent to agent, and the company stays out of the way. So I've just used that network. I mean, at any Keller Williams agent, you guys have got the biggest network in the country. Tap into it. We've got a referral database in there. Reach out to the people from the feeder markets. Make a phone call. And I think that's a fabulous idea you just gave, Bob.
The other one that kind of pops to my head here is like investment properties, right? Like if I've got an investment property that I'm listing, let's say, or even one that I just know about in my market that I'm thinking to myself, man, this is a great investment. I don't have a buyer right now who's capable of, who can buy this thing, but my goodness, this is a good investment. Like, there's agents in other parts of the country that are working with investors who are willing to buy a house in Tucson if it makes sense from an investment perspective. So do you guys ever, from on the investment side of things, are you connecting with agents out there that might have clients that would be looking to buy? I guess in San Diego, everything's just expensive, right? But in Tucson, you guys have a lot of investment types of opportunities, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's definitely something we do. As we list a lot of short sales, the unfortunate part of short sales is that a lot of times they fall out of escrow. And in Tucson, our market got hit so hard, it's something crazy number, like 35% of our homes are still underwater. So the short sale thing is still going strong in Tucson. So what happens is we take it to market, we get the highest and best offer that we can, and a lot of times what happens is we have investors that we know that we work with. We just call them and say, hey, look, we've got good offers on this. It'll probably go through, but in the event that it doesn't, do you want to write a backup on it? And then that way, if the first position buyer falls out, we've got something lined up for our seller. We take that investor straight to the bank and knock it out.
But you guys, the people listening to this call, you all have kind of these agent networks, right? It's really easy today, right? ActiveRain is a great place where you guys are making connections with other agents around the country, or Facebook, or, I would be thinking about, who are the people in my network that might have a buyer for one of my properties, and especially when it's those investors, right? There's folks on ActiveRain talking about the fact that they have investors, and kind of pay attention to those conversations that are happening where it's like, man, wait a minute, how can I insert myself in here? Well, geez, we got some good investment properties in Tucson right now. Yep. All right, let's move on and talk about finding and developing core advocates. So, Jerimiah, first explain to me and the audience, what do you consider a core advocate, and then who might some of those people be, and then maybe we'll have you talk a little bit about how you kind of reach out to these folks.
So for me, a core advocate is somebody that if you had 5 people like this person in your database, you wouldn't need anybody else. So I'll give you an example. I have a great attorney in Tucson that he's a bankruptcy guy. He's the #1 bankruptcy guy in town. He does tons and tons of consults. This year, we'll close between 30 and 35 short sale listings where he does a consult. He finds out that the client is a good candidate for a short sale, and maybe they don't need to do the BK. He sends them our way, we list it, and we do a great job. To me, that's a core advocate. If I'm getting at least 10 transactions a year out of somebody, to me, that's a core advocate, and I'm going to go way out of my way to make sure I communicate with them, that I take excellent care of their referrals, I keep them updated on their referrals, and they know how appreciative I am of these people.
So your attorney would be one. What you got an accountant, like a divorce attorney would be a good one. What are some other ones?
You know, here's the best part about core advocates is you never know who they're going to be. I had one guy that I was at a car show, and I just started talking to him about his truck and found out he needed to buy a house, right? We've all done that. So we took care of him, and I asked him the same question. Like, I have a script, right? We like scripts. So here's my script. I'd say, you know, Bob, as we work together on this, it's such an exciting time. And there's going to be some things that you're going to notice as we move through this transaction. Because now that we're under contract, your awareness has changed, and you're thinking about real estate all the time. And so, like, Bob, for example, have you ever bought a new car or just a car that's even new to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, what'd you buy?
A Pathfinder.
A Pathfinder, cool. Dude, you got to upgrade. I know you're making more money than that, Bob. So you got the Pathfinder. You're driving down the road, and you're loving the Pathfinder, and you're driving.
It's my favorite car, by the way. Don't say that ever again. There is no upgrade from a Pathfinder.
So you're driving the most magnificent car in the world, the Pathfinder, and you look around you. What's the first thing you started to notice?
More Pathfinders.
Other Pathfinders, right? And that's not a coincidence. It's not like they had a sale on them and everybody bought them at the same time. What it is that your awareness changed. There's actually something at the base of your brain called the reticular activation system that chooses what bits of information you see. So what's going to happen now is that you're in this real estate transaction. All of a sudden, you're going to be aware of other people in real estate transactions. And so as you're at work, you're at church, you're going to school, you're picking the kids up from school, whatever it is, you're just going to notice these conversations that you didn't notice before. So this is where I'm going to count on you to get those people's contact information, give it over to me, and that way I can follow up, because referrals are the lifeblood of my business. And so I had that conversation with this guy. And now, mind you, he's a mechanic. He bought a house in Tucson for like $180K, which is the average price there. It's actually a little above. And within 12 months, I had sold 3 of his sisters a home, his mother a home, 2 of his cousins a home, and 3 other people at his work a home. He's a core advocate. You never know where you're going to find these people. They're people that they're just referral machines.
So that, I mean, that's a great script, right? Like, because you're essentially, you are activating their reticular activator, right? Is that what you called it, the reticular activator?
A reticular activation system, RAS, yeah.
Yeah, so you're activating it, right? I mean, you're essentially making them aware, and they might have been aware of it, but to have that conversation with them really puts them on alert to pay attention to those conversations, and then to what to do with those conversations, which is essentially you're telling them, hey, you know, get their contact information and give it to me. I mean, you're kind of giving that person the steps to become more advocate.
Yeah, and the truth, Bob, is that everybody wants to see us succeed, right? People don't wake up in the morning and hope you fail. The truth is they want to help you. They just a lot of times don't know how. So if we can teach them how to help us, then it's easy. So we have that conversation when they go under contract. Once they release contingencies, or we clear through all their inspections, we just check up and say, hey, so how's it going? Are you finding a lot of people that, is it happening yet? Are you finding these people? And then again at the closing table, we have that same coverage. Look, now that you're closed, you're going to hear of even more people. So we're going to continue to follow up. And it's our job to help them remember what to do. It's not their job to remember to refer us.
I think that's a key point for you guys to understand, right? A lot of us, like, we do a job, right? And then we wonder, well, how come we're not seeing the kind of referrals that we expected from this client we did such a great job for? Well, hey, did you put them in a position to want to refer you, or to even know how to refer you? Or what to do?
Hey, Bob, it's Carrie. Your audio is
Hey,
going
Carrie.
in and out. Can you use a different headset or something? possibly, please?
I can try, okay? I'll try to stay a little bit more consistent here. Was that better, Carrie?
Much better.
Okay.
Yeah, much
good.
better. Thank you.
Okay, so find and develop core advocates. You guys, you need to be doing this. Jeremiah, talk to me for a second about the bankruptcy attorney, because I believe in some past discussions that we've had, you do like maybe some joint classes with that guy where you guys will do like some short sale classes or something, and you'll have him come to the class and do a little presentation. But how do you approach somebody like that maybe initially? How did you find that BK attorney initially?
Yeah, so here's, with any core advocate, the answer is you bring them more business than they will ever get you. And so with the bankruptcy, look, everybody on this call is good at the internet, right? We wouldn't be on an ActiveRain webinar if we didn't at least comprehend the internet at some level. So with the bankruptcy guy, I called him and I just said, look, I work with people all the time that need to do short sales that when I kind of sit down and look at their scenario, think they should probably file a bankruptcy, but I'm not qualified to give them that advice. So if you'll agree to do a free consult, I'll provide you a consistent pipeline of clients. What in that conversation is there for him to say no to?
Yeah.
So I said, and he said, yeah, I'm interested. I would do that. I went, great. I'd like to come to sit down and meet with you for 15 to 20 minutes, and just so that we kind of know what the system looks like. I know how to set you up to win. And then I'll get started trying to find you some people. And then I went and I found him people. You know, I ran squeeze page ads with pay-per-click marketing that just said, you know, have credit issues, thinking of filing bankruptcy, or have a home you need to sell, contact me here. And I was just feeding him leads. And the nice part is he was helping me convert them, because him and his staff are calling them back and getting them in for bankruptcy consults. And if they need to do a short sale, who do you think they're going to send them over to? So it's that thinking in abundance. It's how can I create more for everybody so that I get more too.
Love that term, thinking in abundance. Okay. Male farming. What are you guys doing?
Not a whole lot of this, believe it or not. This is relatively new for my team. And the reason is that it's expensive. I mean, I can touch.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I love about the internet is I can look for homeowners that have a certain net worth, that live in a specific area, that have a desire to move, and I can find those all online much less expensively than I can do mail farming. So here's the things that I like for mail farming. One is it's got to be massively consistent. Like if you're not going to do this for at least 12 to 18 months, don't even do it once. It's not worth your time. Mail farming in itself probably isn't going to get you where you want to be. And so here are kind of the metrics, and you probably want to write these down. What we've found is that if you go into a neighborhood, you want that neighborhood to, one, have the correct average sales price for it to make sense. So what we found is if it's a neighborhood of about 2,000 homes, we're looking for at least a $200,000 average sales price in Tucson, that's above the market average. So if you're in a different market, it's going to be easier. Two is that we want that neighborhood to have a minimum of around 6 to 7.5% turnover. That's where you're going to have a really hard time finding it, and you're going to have to dig pretty deep. When the turnover goes down, the price point has to go up so that the dollars are even. So we're going to shoot for 6 to 7.5, 10% is even better. If you're in Southern California, you're never going to find that. It's going to be 5%, and you're going to be happy with it. And then the third piece is that there can't be a dominant agent. If one agent has more than 30% market share, just go somewhere else. You're swimming upstream. Sooner or later, they'll get old, they'll retire, something will happen, and you could go take over the neighborhood then. But don't try to battle with somebody that's already a dominant player when there's so much business out there to be had that you can just go get it done. Now, at the same time, watch that neighborhood, because most of the time the dominant player gets lazy and that market share backs down and you can go grab some. So those are how we qualify it. And then there's two ways that we do this. One is we farm for market valuations. And so we use a product called CoreFact, C-O-R-E-F-A-C-T, CoreFact. And it's really easy. You know, the postcards are about $1 a piece. we just picked an area that we wanted to go after. We mail them once a month. And it just talks about the value in the neighborhood, has nothing really specific. It shows a couple recent sales. And, you know, every time that goes out, we have about a 1.5% response rate. People go to a website, they log in, they plug in their stuff. Now, the cool part about CoreFact is after they plug in their stuff, every month it sends them info on their actual home value based on the information they provided, and then it tracks their activity. So every month we get a report from CoreFact, and it says, hey, this guy's on the site quite a bit, and he's looking at stuff. You probably want to call him because it looks like he's going to be selling soon. And so they look for what we call selling signals. And it kind of helps you weed through that database, similar to what some of these guys are doing with Infusionsoft. And that's, to me, that's a decent strategy. Now, the second one we use is there's a company here in San Diego called Real Effective Marketing. And this one is significantly more expensive. So I would use this to go after a luxury market. So we picked an area in Tucson that only had about 500 homes with an average price of $425. And what they do is they will actually create a customized community-based newsletter. So everything is about that one community. The newsletter is all about that community. It has all the recent sales from that community. And the coolest part is these guys do it all. They do it hands-free, and then they create a community website that has all the same information, all the community stuff going on. They maintain it all, and they just farm away and drive the traffic for you. And they do it month after month hands-free, but you're going to spend at least $1,000 a month with those guys.
So on CoreFact, like you threw some numbers out there. So you said you're doing about, let's say you're doing 2,000 homes, and you're sending one of these mailers out
every month.
And you're getting about 1.5% conversion rate. So you're getting about 30 people. Am I doing the math right? You're getting about 30
Yep.
folks that are going to the website. They're filling in. I think with CoreFact they have like a code on so the person gets the postcard essentially, and then there's a website they can go to. There's a little code they can put in that's actually tied to their house. Is that right? That's how CoreFact. Yeah. So you're getting about 30 of those people every time you do one of these things that's going online to basically check the value on their home.
Exactly. And so the way that we look at it is if we get 30, out of those 30, look, real estate is a win, not an if game. I don't know if anybody understood what that meant. So everybody moves. The question is are you looking at this business with a mindset that you're going to be in it long enough so that you'll still be selling when they move? Because the question isn't if they'll move. Everybody moves. At some point, sometimes they move in a casket, but they still move. And so the question is, will you be around that long? And the agents that are the most successful in this business unequivocally say yes to that. And so with any of the strategies that we give you, this isn't a quick fix. There's no magic pill. You've got a plan that it's going to take you 6, 12, 18 months to implement these. And so if you're looking at a farming strategy saying, okay, I'm going to kick in $2,000 a month for the next 18 months, well, that's $36,000 you're going to invest before you really start to see a good ROI. And if that turns your stomach, then you're going to like some of the other strategies we give you.
Or the couple we've talked about already. All right, let's move on to Facebook, right? You said the internet. You actually were making some claims like I can go online on the internet and I can target people in a certain demographic with a certain age. They make a certain amount of money. I know they're a homeowner. Let's talk Facebook ads for a minute, and I want to show you guys. I made this ad last night. You can make these ads on Facebook rather quickly, and you just go to facebook.com/ads, and with a Facebook ad, to me anyway, and Jeremiah, maybe correct me if you see something else in here, but there are 3 components of the Facebook ad. There's the ad itself, and on Facebook ads, you can build ads. Like I've got this image, breaking news. Every ad you build, you can actually choose up to 6 different images that you can use for the ad, and Facebook will rotate those images through the ad, and theoretically will optimize the ad based on which image seems to perform the best. Then there becomes the little, I'm on the right path there, right?
You're right on.
Okay, the next part of the ad then becomes the copy that you write in the ad. So I've talked to a lot of agents who are using this type of a strategy. If you guys have places in your market where home prices are up, or like in Jeremiah's market where people are starting to come out from being underwater, like maybe that's the headline, right? Hey, do you think you're underwater? Well, you might not be, right? In this case, it's home prices are up some percent in an area, right? So in this case, we're talking about Seattle. So the ad itself becomes kind of the first part. The next two parts might even be more important, and the second part becomes the targeting. Okay, so inside of Facebook, when you start your ad, and they walk you through this process, okay, but the thing that I want to make you guys aware of is see that little button there? So you start with a location, right? And if I was running an ad like the one I was showing you where it says, hey, home prices are up 13% in Seattle over last year, well, I'm going to make sure then that my location is Seattle. And one things that you need to be aware of is when you first put in a location, it's actually going to give you that location and everything 25 miles around that location. So if I was building an ad for Seattle, I would want to go in and take the radius down to just Seattle because my ad is talking very specifically about Seattle, and so I wouldn't want it to run in front of somebody that lives like in Bellevue, which is within 25 miles of Seattle. So I want to get that targeting real specific to just the area that my ad actually talked about. So that's one thing that I see people making that mistake. They go, oh, I did my ad for Seattle, but what you really did is your ad for Seattle and every city within 25 miles, which is essentially everything in Western Washington. And then we can go in and do age and gender and relationship status. That's a great one, right? I might decide to take it and turn it into, well, let's just do married folks. But as you start to get down there a little bit, then there's this more demographics option. And there's two features inside of that more demographics option that I think for you guys would really be features I'd want to use. One of them is income. So we can actually go in and say, look, we just want to target people based on their income. So like in this particular ad, I did basically everybody with an income from $75,000 up. And then home ownership is another demographic that we can actually target. Okay? So we can target homeowners and we can target renters. So think about if I'm running an ad like home prices are up 13%, get a free report on your home's value, I'm probably going to want to run that just to homeowners. And what you start to be able to do is carve out this niche kind of, or this real specific audience of who is going to see your ad. And you'll see there, like in Seattle, for the ad I set up, I'm just in the city of Seattle. I'm looking at people just over the age of 21. I'm saying they're married. I could have backed off they're married. I probably missed a bunch of folks in there. But I'm saying, hey, people over $75,000 in income who are homeowners. And you'll notice on the right-hand side there, Facebook, as you start to create the targeting on the ad, will actually go in and give you how many people are going to be reached with that ad. And you'll see my particular ad right here. There are about 66,000 people that live in Seattle that are on Facebook, that are homeowners, have an income over $75,000, that are married, that are over 21. Right? We can get really specific with, yeah, go ahead.
So one, as you're breaking up again, so you may be talking with your hands too much, but two is can we plus this a little bit? I am talking with my hands.
I've
seen you talk. So can we plus this? Because we didn't talk about this in the prep call, but I have discovered this in the last few weeks. Now, have you ever heard of the Facebook Power Editor?
Oh, I have.
Okay, so here's the cool thing, is everything Bob just showed you guys, now you can take that and use what's called the Power Editor, and if you just Google it, you'll find it. It's just Facebook.com/ads/Power Editor. It allows you to do what are called triggers. So I got this from a buddy of mine that markets for the Hard Rock Hotel or MGM and Hard Rock in Vegas. And what they do is they watch relationship statuses. So every time somebody goes from married to single, they start hammering them with come to Vegas and hit the nightlife ads. So what we want to look at as real estate agents is every time somebody changes their profile from, let's say that they say, they've got a baby on the way, or they just had a baby, or they're expecting, we can actually trigger ads based on those things, and we can create ads that are targeted to that niche of people, like, hey, are you outgrowing your house? Click here for our 4 steps to upsizing into a larger home for your family. And that way you know specifically who they're going to. And the cool part about Facebook is you can use it just like you can use Google, and you can go really broad, or you can really spend some time with it and drill it down to go super specific. And what I found is that the results and the cost per click are much better when you drill it down. So like we ran an ad campaign, and it was home prices in San Diego are up X% year over year. Click here for info. And so it took us about 40 site visitors to get somebody to fill it out. And it was just a squeeze page from a Wufoo form. We narrowed it down to Solana Beach, which is just one zip code. And we said, Solana Beach home prices are up this much year over year. Click here to find out how much your Solana Beach's home prices moved up. And we went to people that were homeowners that have what they call the behavior of likely to move, which just means they've been a homeowner for, I think, either 3 or 5 years. And all of a sudden, we went from 30 to 40 clicks to get a registration fill out down to about 15. And the cost per click also went down because we had narrowed the targeting more, so we weren't having to bid as high. So we were at like 24 cents a click and 14 clicks to a lead, which those are amazing numbers because the average sales price in that neighborhood is $1 million.
So if you're going to run Facebook ads, the targeting becomes just ridiculously essential. Now, what becomes almost as essential then, and Jeremiah has mentioned it, is this idea of a squeeze page or a landing page. He said he's doing his with Wufoo. Here's an example, like you want to have your landing page so they click on our ad. The ad prices are up 13%, no valley. Find out what your house is worth. When they click that ad, it's got to be clean and obvious. An particular example, to lead.com. This landing page, all we're asking for is their address, right? It's very non-threatening. It's not their name, their phone number, their email, their address, their kids' names, their kids' birthdays. We're just asking for their address. And these listings to leads ones, Jeremiah, I don't know if you've ever used these guys, but it will actually pull the person's address in after about a second and a half of sitting on that page. It will pop an address up and say, is this where you live? And it's a little bit freaky. I talked about this in a webinar last week, but super effective, right? Super effective. And when they hit that go button, the next page will actually pull in a Google Street shot of their house. Now, this isn't going to work for every single visitor that lands on your page because, like, if I was on this right now, I'm at the office. But it will work for people sitting in, like, a residential location.
The key to these is keeping it simple. Well, we tried another one where we had all kinds of information on the page, and what we found is that we got a lot of bad information because they were able to come to the page and they get some pieces of the information that they wanted, and we found that we got a lot of Mickey Mouses and Donald Ducks, where if you just keep it really simple and you say, just give me your address, your name, and your email address, and then make the phone number optional, we get almost a 30% contact rate on those. So that means that out of 10 registrations, 3 of them are going to either pick up the phone or answer the email when we send it to them, and that's an uncommon high number for internet leads. So as that maintains, and as that maintains, and we get better and better at these strategies, what you're going to find are more tools that are more localized, that have better and better data, like what Bob said. And I'm going to go play with this listings to leads thing once we get off this webinar and have some time. But the next thing after this is really working your sphere of influence. And so what we know works for getting listing leads is people that already know you, they already like you, and they want to do business with you, or they've already done business with you. You want to work that sphere of influence. And so when we talk about working our sphere of influence, what a lot of people think is, oh, well, I send them a monthly email, I send them a postcard, whatever it is. In whatever that is, you really want to be strategic about it, and you want to take notes as you're talking to the people. So what we do on our team is we use a postcard tool through Market Leader. It's called a 12 Direct. It's preloaded in as a campaign in the market leader back office. We set all of our clients up on it, and it just drops a postcard on their doorstep once a month. And I think they're about 84 cents a piece. And it's set it and forget it. It's really easy. And then in addition to the postcard, there we go. Bob just switched slide for you guys. In addition to the postcard, what we do is we also call them once a quarter, because we can send all the postcards, emails, everything else that we want, but we want to make sure that we call them. And so what that quarterly phone call looks like is we're just checking in, and it's real easy. So on my team, because I work full-time and I don't sell real estate in Tucson, in terms of signing agreements, yet people do business with my team and with my standards, we have somebody on the team that calls them, and the script kind of goes like this. He just goes, "Hey, Bob, it's Joe over at the Jerimiah Taylor team, and I was talking with Jeremiah earlier, and he asked me to reach out, give you a call, and see how things are going with the house. I mean, I can't believe you've already been in there for 18 months or however long it's been. How's everything going? Are you guys loving it?" And we're just getting feedback, having a conversation. So a lot of times I'll encourage our salesperson that's making those calls to pull up their social media profiles and just kind of see what's going on in the world. Because if their dog just died, we don't want to call and ask them how their dog is doing. So you want to have good intel on what they're up to and just be a part of their life. So we're sending 12 postcards. We're making 4 phone calls. We also have them on a monthly market update tip called Market Insider. That's also part of the Market Leader platform. And every month it lets them know, here's what's happening in your zip code, here's what's not happening in your zip code, and kind of lets them know everything that's going on in terms of sales, pricing, school districts. It's a really unique tool, and it's also hands-free. So between those 3 things, we're touching them right at 28 times a year. And then in addition to that, we have them grouped, right? So we know in our sphere of influence who are the people that have referred us in the last 12 months, how many referrals have they gotten, or have we received from them, and what's the total dollar value of that client to the team. And that allows us to spend our time with the people that are the best advocates of the team. And this isn't like some NASA formula. It's just a simple Google Drive spreadsheet that we use to track where our business is coming from. So, as an agent, you run a small business. And so if you don't know exactly where every single closing that you've had in the last 5 years came from, that's probably a good place to start. And so when you know where those things are coming from, you can hold the dollars that you're spending accountable. Because what happens a lot of times is agents, they take on this $2,000 a month farming thing, and then all of a sudden the market picks up and their business is up 50%, and they say, wow, farming works. And then they don't realize they had the wrong phone number on the dang farm cards the whole time, and they never got a lead from it. So you've really got to take and by the way, that's something that has happened to me. Look, we all make mistakes. So you want to make sure that you're tracking where the business is coming from, so you're holding every single dollar accountable. So when we look at sphere of influence, the last piece that we do is we do 2 extra things for our core advocates that Bob talked about. One is every year during the Christmas season, we actually go out and we visit with those guys. And that doesn't mean I do, but again, it's the same thing. Someone on my team drops by their work, and we love to do this at work, and they bring them a $25 Starbucks gift card with a personalized handwritten holiday card. They just say, hey, thanks so much for being in business with us this year. We've had such a fabulous year. And we tell them about our success, and we thank them for being a part of our success. And we make that face-to-face contact. And I bet you that 9.5 out of 10 of those people, nobody else at their work is showing up with a gift card and saying thanks for the referrals they gave them throughout the year. So that's a really powerful tool. And then once a year, we also do a client appreciation party. And during that client appreciation party, what we're doing is we're having, all of our clients, all of the agents that sold our listings, all of our preferred vendors come to a party. And, we sponsor it. I come into town, we grill hamburgers and hot dogs and, have soda and chips and beer and the whole thing for everybody. And we just hang out with them. And sure, it costs us some money. But you know what? If we treat the co-op agents really, really well on the other side of the transactions, and we treat our clients really well and all of our preferred partners really well, you know what, it makes our job a lot easier, and agents want to come sell our listings. And that's a value proposition for our sellers, is that we have a fabulous reputation in the market and that we take care of the other agents on the other side of the deals. So sphere of influence isn't just people that refer you. It's everybody in your database.
So Jeremiah, while you were talking about all of that, I just ditched my audio on my computer, and now I'm on my phone. So I dialed in here via my cell phone. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now, Bob.
I imagine. Hopefully the slides will keep up with me. So, sphere of influence. It's important. He gave you guys some ideas about some of the things that he does. I didn't get to hear all those ideas because I was busy switching over my audio. So, using inside sales, you've been talking, you've kind of dropped this along the way. You know, you have a team. You're not making all of these calls. You're not the guy today anymore, at least, and I know you have been this guy in the past, but you're not the guy today that sits down and hammers the phones, right? Calls the expired. Talk to me a little bit about using inside sales, and then we're also maybe going to talk about some scripts that your folks might use, and maybe even, I think more important is, how would you actually set up like some folks to work on your team, and what would a comp plan look like for some of those people on inside sales?
So inside sales is a pretty new concept for us. We had the buyer's agents and listing agents on my team doing all of the lead conversion, lead cultivation, and everything. And one of the challenges that we run into is in real estate, what you'll discover over time is that generating the leads is actually pretty easy. I can get a whole bunch of people to call in and want to talk to us about real estate. The real challenge is in the accountability and the follow-up systems for how we stay on top of all those leads. And so what I teach our agents is we just use 2 accordion files, we use lead sheets, and so every time I get a lead, I pull out a lead sheet, I start taking notes, and I drop it in the appropriate spot in the accordion file that's either 1 through 31 for the days of the month, or January through December for the how many months down the road they want me to call them. And we did that for a long time. We sold consistently over 100 homes a year using that strategy. In fact, my best year, I took like 104 listings personally, hand-signed them using that strategy. Now, here's the challenge with that, is that I'm kind of like Rain Man when it comes to taking listings. I can ignore everything else and just move forward, right? Like my world can be collapsing and I'm still going to go lead generate. Not every agent can work that way. And so what you've got to figure out is how do you get through the phone calls and have a system for tracking what's working and not working. So now that I've stepped out of my team, what's really interesting is our lead volume has grown and our transaction volume has shrank. So what that tells me is that we have a lead conversion issue. And so what we looked at is, with an inside salesperson, what would it cost us to bring them in? And what we found out is that it wouldn't cost us anything because we left almost $800,000 in commissions on the table in unconverted leads last year. So what we figured out is by bringing in this inside salesperson, we just pay them $1,000 a month salary. That's it. And then on top of that, they get bonused based on their lead conversion percentages. So for example, for internet leads, if they get our database up to a 5% lead conversion, then we give them 5% of the commissions that came from that entire internet database. So last year, that would have been about $60,000 that would have been in their pocket. And it didn't cost me anything, because the truth is right now we're hovering around 2.5%, 3%. So if they double our money and I pay them back 5% of it, I'm pretty far ahead, and that's a win-win for them. And then we just do the same thing. So for agent referrals, we know that we should close 80% of those. So it's their job to grab them, intake them, pull them into a system, and then hold the team agents accountable to getting them closed. You know, sign calls, we're at about a 25% conversion rate. Past client sphere of influence, we're at about an 80% conversion rate. So their entire compensation is based on them hitting these conversion numbers and maintaining them. And as they do, then their compensation's not tied to a closing, it's tied to a conversion rate standard, and that way they can just make it happen. So How confusing was that, Bob?
Well, it wasn't too confusing. Maybe one of the questions I would have is when you look at conversion rate, is that like, what is a conversion? Is that an appointment? Are you getting them to set an appointment, or is it actually a closing?
So we measure it all the way through, and this is all readily available data that we have at, Keller Williams has the Keller Research Institute that we do all the research on this stuff. And so we know that from an internet lead, so that's somebody that fills out like a forced capture squeeze page, about 10% of the time we're going to get that person on the phone, and out of that 10%, about 20% of the time we'll get them on the phone, and out of that 20, about 50% of those people should actually come in for an appointment at some point in time. And then out of those 10 that actually come in for appointments, about 5 of them sometime in the next 18 months should close escrow. And so they're held accountable all the way down through the process, because they can, it's real easy for an ISA to come in and manage getting the appointment set, but then if nothing ever closes, they've got to work to actually hold the agents accountable to getting their leads closed once they put them into the sales pipeline.
So you kind of create this with that inside salesperson, this person that ultimately becomes responsible for everybody doing their job.
Yep.
Right? I mean, because like you said, they can get them in here for an appointment, but and so they come in, they sit down, they have an appointment, but it's like, all right, 2 weeks from now, if that appointment didn't turn into them out looking at houses, like you've got somebody there going, hey, what happened with this appointment? Like, how come this person's not out looking at houses? And the agent might be like, oh, I was just busy. I haven't gotten back to them yet. But that inside salesperson keeps them accountable all the way through.
Yeah, and they've got a lot of money on the line, because if they hit all their minimum conversion standards, that's about $150,000 a year opportunity. And if they whiff one of them, it may cost them $20,000 for the year. So there's high accountability for them, which creates high accountability for the agents on the team. And so far as we've begun to implement it, it's been a game changer, because what we're seeing is that we're now pretty consistently carrying like 140 to 150,000 pending commissions, where through last year we were averaging about 90,000. And we haven't added anybody to the team. We've just worked on lead conversion.
Where do you find this person? Is this like an agent in your office that's maybe struggling a little bit, but you walk by the cubicle and you hear them on the phones and they're really good on the phone, but they're just unorganized and they don't know how to generate their own leads? Like, where does someone find this type of candidate?
Yeah, I'm so glad that you asked that, because here's the one thing that I always tell the agents. Within your office is probably not the right place to find them. Because if this person was really, really good at what they did, they'd be one of the top 5 agents in the office, and they wouldn't be that interested. And so it's funny, when people are building teams, they like to go the easy route and not the right route. So the easy route is you look for the people in the office that are having a hard time, that, if they just got some leads, they'd really do better. Well, guess what? They're not that great without you, and they're not going to be that great with you either. I would rather take, like, the best buyer's agent I ever hired. She was a commercial real estate transaction coordinator that was licensed, and she responded off of a Craigslist ad, and when we sat down and we talked, she was just fabulous. She had an absolutely amazing track record of success, was good at everything she did, but she'd never sold real estate. She knew nothing about real estate. We helped her get her license, and day one I sat her down and I said, here's a list of people, call them. And until you get somebody that wants to come in and meet with you, that's all you need to do is call people. And if you finish that list, I've got another one. And that's all she did in her first year with me. I think she sold 32 houses.
So what did she say?
So she was just calling old internet leads, and all she said was, hi, this is Angelica. I'm just calling because you'd registered on our website, justlistedintucson.com, and I was curious if you guys are still in the market to buy or sell a house. I mean, it's not difficult. There's the magic in the script is that you make the call, and the scripts help us as agents feel comfortable to make the calls. Your script could be high. The script is important because it helps you feel comfortable to make the calls, and so that's what you have to understand. So if I've got seller leads that are coming in, where I think most agents miss it, because you could spend, right now we're running a campaign and we're spending about $20 a day on Facebook, and we're averaging 3 to 5 seller leads a day. So now I know the law of averages, and so what that says is that if I get 3 to 5 leads a day for a month, I'll get between 100 and 150 for the month, and then over the course of 6 months, that'll be about 600, and that's when my first paycheck will most likely come, is about 6 months out. And so at the end of that, I've got 600 leads, and I'll probably sell about 1 house in the first 6 months. But that's where I start to gain some momentum in the pipeline, and that number grows and grows. And so one is you have to be tenacious in the follow-up. So more so than what you say, it's how you say it and how consistently you say it. So what I would say is if you registered on my website as a home value lead, first thing I do is pick up the phone and call you. And I go, hey, this is Jerimiah Taylor over at Keller Williams. I see that someone at your property there just registered on our website for some more information on the property of the home, on the price of your home there. How can I be of service to you guys? And what you'll notice is that I didn't go, hey, I'm calling for Bob, because sometimes people put fake names in there, and then when you call and you say, hey, I'm calling for Bob, they go, there's no Bob here, and then you're stuck. You go, oh, well, okay, thanks, bye. So I always just call and I go, hey, it's Jerimiah Taylor at Keller Williams. You guys were just on our website. I see you asked for some more information about the value of the home there. How can I be of service to you guys? And it's not, do you want to sell the house? Are you looking to buy, sell, or invest? I mean, it's easy. How can I be of service?
It's literally just leave it on them, and then in a lot of cases, when you do get somebody on the phone like that, they'll start out with something like, oh, well, we were just, we just kind of wanted to see what our house is worth, and right? They're never going to, I mean, it's very rare that they go, we're looking to sell our house and we want you to come list it for us.
But yeah, no, that doesn't happen. And so
right.
what ends up happening is that they say, yeah, we're thinking about selling that, but we're not sure what we want to do, et cetera, et cetera. I say, well, look, why are you guys thinking about selling it? We start talking about their motivation, where they would go if they sold it, what their time frame is. And it's all the standard pre-qualifying questions that we teach the agents, It's if you did sell it today, where would you go? And that leads to the conversation that gets them activated to do something.
Let me ask you this, and I didn't ask you this in advance, and I should have. Do you have like some kind of a list or something that I might be able to share with the audience afterwards that is those qualifying questions?
You know what? I think I do. I have the lead sheets that we use, and I'll be happy to send them over to you.
All right. So Jerimiah is going to share with us his lead sheet that's got all sorts of great stuff on it that you guys can if you don't have these lead sheets, you're not kind of handling the seller leads you are able to generate in some kind of a systematic manner. We'll have Jerimiah share that with us a little bit later. Okay, so before we jump in here, and Adele, I agree, Jerimiah is the best, man. This guy, he's got all sorts of great ideas. He's willing to share. Let's go in here now and look at some of these, some of the questions that folks are asking. And Jerimiah, we've only got about 5 minutes left on the call, but can you hang out for a little bit and answer a couple of questions?
Sure.
Okay, so Kevin says, the $20 per day on Facebook ads, are you guys just doing the kind of find out what your home is worth ads, or are there any other kind of ads that you guys might be running on Facebook?
Yeah, I mean, we do buyer ads, we do seller ads, we do recruiting ads for talent for the team. I mean, you're going to want to spend $20 to $50 a day on each of those niches to get anything quantifiable, because look, real internet lead generation is a numbers game, and so if you're thinking, well, I'm going to throw $5 a day at this, you're going to be sorely disappointed with your results, because your ad spend is going to limit your results pretty significantly.
But you said you guys are doing about $20 a day on each of the different types of ads that you might be running. What would be different? Talk to me about a seller ad. I know this is about listing leads, but just for my application, talk to me for a second about a seller or a buyer ad. Like, you're targeting them. I'm assuming, like, instead of home ownership, you might be targeting renters or something like that.
Yep. So we do some that target renters that say, why rent? How prices are increasing, rents are increasing, interest rates are at an all-time low. Find out if you qualify for or find out if you qualify to buy a home and save money every month. We have some, like anywhere in the country, you're going to have these what they call CRA zones that are Community Reinvestment Act zones, where people can get 100% financing. And so then we would run to a squeeze page in those zip codes and just say, and I don't want to get too PC here, but people tend to buy, this ad gets a lot of clicks. And what we say is, Obama now offering zero down, 100% loans for people in qualifying areas. See if your area qualifies today. And then we did another one that says Obama is now giving 100% loans to Oceanside community homeowners, and they get a ton of clicks that way. And whether it's not necessarily Obama that's doing it, but they are government-funded programs through the Community Reinvestment Act that they're doing those 100% deals, and we get a lot of leads and a lot of good info.
I got a couple of people here asking questions like, give me some examples of some good headlines for different ads and stuff. I want to share something with you guys right now, and I've shared this on an ActiveRain call before. That there's a download that you can get. It's called headlinehacks.com. It's a free download. You got to put your email address in, and you get added to the guy who wrote this thing list or whatever. But Headline Hacks is, for me, probably the best piece of content I've ever read about writing headlines. So, John, there's a couple of you guys that asked this question. Go in and download this Headline Hacks. If you want to write headlines that get people to click, it's an awesome download. It's got some exercises that you can actually do and start to think about, because what you write in those headlines, right, and what those ads say, and that drives how many clicks you get. And like Jeremiah said, after that, assuming you've got a good landing page and your targeting is done right, every click, Jeremiah knows, I think you were saying what, Jeremiah, every 14 clicks becomes a lead for you guys, right?
Yeah, so we're averaging about 14 to 15 to a lead. Another thing, too, is these things are not absolutes. And this is where agents get all hung up. They're like, well, you said it's 14 to 15 clicks to a lead. I've got 40 clicks, and I don't have any leads. And I go, well, that's fine. There's been times I went 1,000 clicks without a lead, but then you go 50 in a row where you get a lead. So it's the law of large numbers. That's what I'm saying. If you spend $5 a day and you do it for 3 days, Bob's going to get hate mail from you guys because you're going to say, oh, you used full of it. It didn't work. You got to commit to a good budget, and you got to commit to it for, like I said, 12 to 18 months at a time, and that gives you enough data to be able to really look at, did this work, did this not work?
I want to have, Jeremiah, maybe we can do this here in the next couple of months. I'd love to have you come on and talk about how you built your team out, because I think there's a lot of people here that are getting a bunch of questions like, where does he find the time for this? And there's a bunch of questions about, like, when you were talking about the ISA, the inside sales agent, how did he hire that person, and what's he doing? And what do you think, man? A couple months here, we'll circle back up and have you talk about how you can get people into a position to be able to focus on lead generation and not focus so much on the day in and day out of real estate?
Yeah, and it's simple, because I get asked that all the time, is like, how do you do this and do that? And I actually own 2 other companies, too, that have nothing to do. One has nothing to do with real estate, and we have investment properties. And so the key is understanding that in life, there's people that are doers and there are people that are activators. And the most significant people that you'll meet are the activators. The tough part is that a great artist, well, they're a doer. They go out and they paint and they paint and they paint, and nobody can ever paint like them. Well, that's why there's not that many rich artists. The great activators of the world are the people that lead and inspire other people and can enroll people and show them how to get to a common goal. And the thing is if let's say that Bob's goal was to make $1 million a year, and I could show him how to make his $1 million a year, and if by him making his $1 million a year, I also made $1 million a year, Bob, would that be okay with you?
Yeah, of course.
So that's what it comes down to, is when you're hiring an inside salesperson, there's so many talented telemarketers out there. I mean, how many of you guys get called by Zillow and Trulia and all those guys every day? If you don't think that every single one of those phone calls is a recruiting opportunity for you, And if you can show them a better path to make more money, and not just those guys. I mean, it's any salesperson. If the Kirby vacuum cleaner guy knocks on your front door, if they're coming to do solar sales, I engage with those people because they're out there and they're doing the lead generation. And I just ask them the question, hey, look, that's tough what you're doing. And that's so awesome that you're doing it. I have a lot of enthusiasm around what you're doing, and I think it's really cool. And I'm just curious, are you making the money you want to make? And if not, if I could show you a way to make a whole bunch more money without having to work quite so hard, would you be interested in having that conversation? And I just close for an appointment. Real estate's a talent search. The number one agent in the country doesn't go on listing appointments. They don't go on buyer appointments. They lead a team of people that go on a whole lot of those appointments.
Awesome stuff. All right. There's funny questions that have been coming in here. Like a guy just asked, do you ever use like text call capture? Like we didn't even talk about how you guys generate listing leads off of your signs, and there's all kinds of stuff we could have talked about. All right, you guys, we're getting past the hour here. Jeremiah is one of these guys that lives on a schedule, so I'm sure that I'm heading into his next appointment or his next search for talent or his next lead generation hour or whatever he's got going on in his business. So I'm going to let him go. Hey, Jeremiah, thank you, sir. I really appreciate you coming and doing this for me.
Hey, thanks, Bob. It's always my pleasure. I love helping. And, if these guys have questions, just ping me on Facebook. My Facebook thing is real easy. It's just J. Taylor, Realtor, first initial, last name, followed by Realtor. Just ping me there and shoot me your questions. And I'm pretty good about getting back to you with those. And my EA actually manages my Facebook during the day so that I can work, which if you don't do that, you should do that. And if he knows the answer, he may just answer on my behalf. So, yeah, reach out, shoot me questions. I love meeting everybody and helping.
I don't know how fast my page is keeping up with you guys. We're having those internet issues, but I threw it up there, facebook.com/J Taylor Realtor. If you guys want to reach out and ask Jeremiah any questions, and he'll check in through there. He'll have somebody checking in throughout the day and make sure that he gets a chance to get back to all you guys. Hey, everybody, I appreciate it. I will get that lead sheet from Jeremiah when we send out the recording to everybody later this afternoon or maybe first thing in the morning. We'll make sure that lead sheet is on the blog post when we send you guys the link to the recording. You guys have an awesome day in real estate. I appreciate you hanging through my internet issues here. I'm on the phone now. Maybe we'll have to do that moving forward. Jeremiah, thanks. I appreciate everybody. On behalf of Jeremiah and Alicia and Chris and Carrie, who are always behind the scenes, my name is Bob Stewart at ActiveRain University. Bye-bye, everybody.